This is Wade, and you are in Wade World. Um, the full saying is when you elect a clown, he doesn't become the king, the palace becomes a circus. And that is the place we are at today. It seems all the systems of democracy, all they do is they get weak men to become your leaders by fooling you, by looking cool on TV, by saying the right things on TV. So, democracy is basically about popularity, and popularity is not what makes great empires or great kings. In fact, it's the opposite. Human science, society, and civilization advances by men who stand alone against millions and billions and say, "You are all wrong, I'm correct, and I will force you to advance." And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, he was great. He was right." Case in point, everybody from the pharaohs to, let's say, Gilgamesh, Alexander, Caesar, Jesus, Genghis Khan, Vlad Dracul, and more in recent history. But what we see right now is the best of Jewish marketing, and their best product is America. And if you want to see where democracy will lead you, look at the president of America. He went from being somewhat of a man to being an absolute girly man clown. And we are going to look at X because, of course, it is the most entertaining version of reality that we have in this clown world. And let's see, X, what's happening again? Try again. There is a version of this reality. There is a purpose behind these diatribes, you can say, or these sayings. And the purpose is moving from words to action. Because remember, voting, if it really meant anything, they would not allow you to do it. And words don't change anything. So let's go to X, where George Galloway, well, that's actually quite good. Happy Easter, Christ is risen, Jesus of Nazareth is Messiah, he will return. You know what? Whether you're white or not, here's something that is very true. And there needs to be a balance with this. As a race, even though whites were converted, most of them forcibly by their kings, but then they really took to this message and they were converted to follow a racial alien. Jesus was a racial alien. That is why the further north you go, the blonder Jesus becomes, and the further towards the equator you go, the blacker he becomes. People don't like gods who don't look like them. Now, Jesus wasn't white, and he was definitely not black. But again, it's pretty hard to sell a Middle Eastern looking God to peoples who are blonde and blue eyed, and the same to people who are just black. But Jesus is an example of meritocracy, an implicit understanding of the white race in that they do follow the best of mankind regardless of race, which is a good thing. However, the bad thing is they are very, very susceptible to extrapolate this to everybody, which is very bad. It's good to be a meritocrat, that regardless of race, if you have merit, we will treat you fairly. But it is very, very unbalanced to be susceptible to extrapolate that to the whole race of those people, as we can see with the Jews doing what they're doing now, saying, "Oh, you have to support Israel. And the Romans crucified Jesus. It wasn't us. We didn't tell the Romans to do anything. And he was a Jew, so you should follow us." See, Jesus was born among a people whom he tried to save, and they crucified him for it. Regardless of the other people, the Khazars who convert, the Canaanites and the Phoenicians that they come from, this is a philosophy that genetically punishes the best of their own men and elevates the worst of their own. So, this is an idea, And whether you like it or not, ideas cannot be killed, just as your ideas of goodness cannot be killed. The Jewish faith is just a symptom of an idea of chaos. They are chaotic, they attract chaos, and they essentially execute the ones that bring balance and order. Unlike most of the people on the side of order who do not execute the ones who create chaos, they just expel them. And how's that worked out over the last 6,000 years, huh? But moving on, let's see if we can actually run your Java. You are of father the devil, Netanyahu, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from it, or he's a liar and the father of it. Well, well. No lies detected there. Candace Owen, this is a satanic administration. We all realize that satanic Jews occupy the White House and Congress needs to move to have the mad king Trump removed. Mad clown. All of our lives may depend upon other countries realizing that Trump is deeply unwell and surrounded by religious fanatics who have convinced him that he's the Messiah. Yeah, it's true. U.S. rescues second F-15 crew. Well, you know what? The US didn't really rescue anybody. What they tried to do was, under the guise of rescue operations, attack and extract the uranium because, Israel can have nuclear weapons. The Jews can have nuclear weapons, but Aryans, pure blood Aryans like the Iranians, we cannot. Because it's not like, if you look at the Jews, they are creatures of chaos, and Aryans are creatures of balance and order. And the fact of the matter is, if there are any races, and these are pure-blooded Aryans, they're not the Europeanized Aryans, they're not the bastardized Aryans, they're like pure-blooded Aryans. If there's something that is genetically antithetical to Aryanism, it's Judaism and the people who practice it. So obviously they don't want the only true-blooded Aryans remaining to get nukes. So this was an operation to get into Iran and steal their uranium, and they just got massacred. And then they're like, oh, we rescued and we're out. No, you failed. And you got a whole bunch of white dudes killed, which is always the plan. Now, some of you may say Jews are white. Again, you have to go back into the racial classifications. White is not a race. White is a complexion, a skin color. You can say white, but there are multiple sub-races. Just like you can't just say Oriental is a race. Well, you can say that, but then you would have to be slightly smarter to understand that, okay, it's a broad classification, but the Chinese are not like the Japanese, who are not like the Koreans, right? So just like that, whites, there are Nordic whites, Alpine whites, Anglo-Saxon whites, Mediterranean whites, Slavic whites, Balkan whites, many different subtypes which have overall commonalities, but they do differ significantly from each other in the way they approach things. And the best way to look at it is infrastructure. Infrastructurally, the most infrastructure-focused whites are usually Western European, Anglo-Saxon, and Nordic. And the more you go towards the east and the south, the less they care about that, and the more they care about a balance of family versus government, work life. So a bunch of the infrastructure order-oriented whites were killed in the stupid operation, signed off by the clown, whose latest tweet is fantastic. So, X.com, let's see. Alex Jones, imagine if Iran bombed and destroyed the Golden Gate Bridge in California. What would you call the act? The USA, Israel, the aggressors, bombed and destroyed Iran's tallest bridge. The Beaver Bridge, this will only unify the Iranian people. That's true. That is true. All right, this is the funny one. And Piers Morgan, he might turn a leaf, right? But if you are a man, you 100% support him getting punched in the face because you might dislike Jeremy Clarkson, but the dude is a man. He is a man. You might not like the style of man he is, but he is a man. There are men like that with varying degrees of seriousness and varying degrees of taunting throughout the world, but the core is a man. And he punched Piers Morgan in the face because throughout his life, Piers Morgan has spread more chaos than order. And he's only turning now because he sees the time turning. Well, his wife humiliates and cuckolds him. That is why his appeals are not genuine and they're not manly, they're girly. But the tweet is chef's kiss. Trump didn't write it. He is a clown, but like all clowns who are girly men, like girls, reputation for them is number one. So for his reputation, he would never write this. Because even in his boomer mentality, he knows that there is a certain amount of dignity that he has to convey as the president of the United States. And he wouldn't say dumb stuff like this usually because he knows that he can say it, but it would destroy his reputation. So this is somebody just like Biden. It doesn't matter. Biden was obviously a puppet. Trump is slightly less obviously, but still a puppet. It's just some Jew. Just like run by Jews, Trump's Twitter is run by Jews. He surrounds himself by Jews who love the Jewish Zionist cause, right? So the tweet itself is hilarious. It says Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day all wrapped up in one in Iran. This is talking about destruction in a light vein, which is not something very well. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking straight or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Well, usually he says, thank you for your attention to this matter, which is ridiculous. It's hilarious. But this is some demented Jew just getting frustrated that, yo, you were supposed to be dead and gone by now. Because, Jews have painted Iranians as the same as Arabs, right? 75 to 80 IQ, sand people. But Iranians are not. They are Aryans. Top leaderships are easily 130 IQ going into WAYDE territory, right? And these guys have multiple degrees in advanced mathematics, Hegelian dialectics, war strategies, philosophies, plus they are warriors. They're literally like philosopher kings, decentralized, many of them. So the Jews thought like, yo, we propagandized the Americans into thinking all the Iranians are like brown-skinned camel jockeys, but then the guys go there and they're like, holy hell, these guys are like everything from blonde, blue-eyed to, like beautiful caramel-colored people. And they're smart as hell. The Iranians' response to this tweet was, oops, we lost the keys in the boating accident. They know this guy is a clown who would allow a Jew to tweet from his account. And his threats are basically blustering. Because here's the reality, right? Let's get serious for a second. Let's say this guy listens to the insane Jews. Robert Oppenheimer, the inventor of the atomic bomb, was a Jew. And you would say, wow, Jews are so gifted, they invented the atomic bomb. Not really. Europeans probably knew how to invent the atomic bomb, but they decided, like, you know what, we probably shouldn't do this because this is horrifying. But it was a Jew who was like, let's do it. And there was another Jew who wanted even more insane bombs until he was stopped by the US government itself before they killed JFK. They were like, yo, stop, enough, that's enough. You're going to destroy the world. And we're not on board with your death cult 100%. Well, now he is. So let's say Trump listens to his Jews and he nukes Iran. Right, this is what's going to happen. And this has already happened. Russia and China have told Israel, if you nuke Iran or anybody nukes Iran, we will destroy you. At White House Easter event, pray that God raised it. Everyone in the administration that claims to be a Christian needs to, this is not